FSH stands for the face, and for what's called the scapular area, which is the shoulder blade, shoulder area. And then the humerus stands for the major bone that's in the upper arm, the humerus bone, and so humeral refers to the muscles around the upper arm. So it's a disease that especially affects muscles of the face, the shoulder, and the upper arm. Hence the name FSH, muscular dystrophy. It's an autosomal dominant disease, so that means that if someone has it, each of their children has a 50-50 chance of inheriting it.
We discovered that my grandmother had it, but we discovered it after her death, actually, from the symptoms she exhibited and from the fact that 2 of her children had it too. So my father has it, and that's how I have it and 2 of my brothers. So it's a real cascade of people in the family having FSH.
There can be new mutations. It sometimes starts with the first person in a family, but once that happens, each child of that individual has a 50-50 chance of inheriting the disease.
We were able to determine that it was likely a spontaneous mutation, that there was no evidence of dystrophy in my father, my siblings, or cousins. We couldn't get tissue from my mom. She had died of breast cancer. So being a spontaneous mutation and having this disease, you know, I can't blame my parents for passing along to me, but I think my son will have a legitimate, huge issue with that. I hope that, and I fundamentally believe that his life will continue to be a wonderful life, and that he will not regret being alive. But I'm sorry that I passed along this problem.
Males get it, females get it, and it has a lot of variety. There are some cases of the disease that are fairly severe, and people are quite disabled by it, and it may even shorten their lifespan. There are other individuals where the disease is so mild, they in fact are unaware that they even carry the gene for the disease. They may have just a little bit of weakness of one arm, and it may not even be noticeable. And then everything in between.
I'm doing quite well, and I never go to the doctor.
I sometimes think about how much time do I have left to do something that I really treasure. How many more years can I, you know, ride my bike? When we were thinking about having children, I was thinking, well, would I be able to hug my children? Will I be able to carry my children? You know, I can't lift them overhead. That doesn't seem to matter so much. I certainly had a hard time lifting them up from the car, up the steps, and into the house, you know, when they're sleeping. And I remember at a certain point, I said to Judy, you know, I can't do this, you know. And you know, that's hard. So I try to pack in a lot of the things that I think will be harder to do later in life now. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of things for later phases of my life that I will enjoy doing.
And I remember him telling me about this disease and thinking, all right, so his smile's crooked and he needs high-top sneakers for support. Am I going to get worried about this? I mean, to me that was not a big deal. Yet I knew it was muscular dystrophy and, you know, Jerry's kids, and I thought, well, he's not one of those, you know, look at me when I'm walking, or, you know, the things that I remember as a kid. He's not the poster child. And I kind of just dismissed it. Dismissed the disease. And he told me it was degenerative, but I didn't think about that.
There are times when I am very bleak about the future. And I think a few years ago, my arms started getting weaker. And I remember the weight of the blankets on my bed felt, you know, really hard. And I thought, oh my God, you know, projecting out further into the future when I'm not going to be able to turn over or move this out of my way or sort of suffocate and or be so dependent on someone else for movement. That's going to be terrible.
It's not rare in the sense of some really rare diseases that I've seen over the years. On the other hand, it's not common. Diseases like Alzheimer's and diabetes and arthritis and so forth are common, so this kind of muscular dystrophy is not that common. But we've seen more than 50 families in our muscular dystrophy clinic here in Seattle with the disease. There are hundreds of people in the state who have the disease and thousands of people in the United States who have the disease, so it's not all that rare.
Yeah, that's something also in that disease. It's so varied. You can, start having the disease when you are 6 or 7, or you can start having it when you're 20, or when you are 30, 40, 60 even. And then there are some cases that are really bad of kids who are born with it and who immediately exhibit the symptoms. And it's horrible because they can't even walk. They'll never be able to walk.
I wanted to find out more about this disease. And I went to a support group, an FSH support group, and Bill had been resisting any kind of association with that, I think, because Bill wants to make it as little a part of his life as possible. And I needed to know more, especially thinking of having kids. And it was very hard for me to see people with the disease really progressed, because I guess I had no idea. And I also saw people there who hardly had it. And it made me worry about having children. It made me worry about, would I be able to be a good mother to someone who might need a wheelchair much of their lives? Or not be able to talk clearly. But I guess what I did in my own mind was I looked at Bill and the life that he has, and I looked at those people who hardly had anything. The people, maybe the construction workers who couldn't lift their hands overhead, and that was a concern. And I thought, I'll have one of those if we have to pass this on. But I didn't get to choose. And I noticed Harry having symptoms pretty young. Things that don't matter, like incomplete eye closure, sloppy eating, which I thought, that's maybe connected. And they don't matter, except they worry me, because I know that early onset means that the disease has got a head start.
Well, we were very pleased to be selected as one of 3 Wellstone centers for the study of muscular dystrophy. The reason these centers were set up was that Congress passed a law about 3 years ago directing the National Institutes of Health to put a lot more money into trying to find treatments for the muscular dystrophies. And there were so many of us here in Seattle that had the common interest of trying to study the muscular dystrophies that we decided to team up and put in an application to try to get one of those centers here in Seattle. We were very successful in doing that, and I'm very happy about that. I think the reason that we were successful was that we have a number of independent laboratories that have been working on the concepts of muscle biology, muscle gene regulation, and muscle gene therapy for many, many years.
So I think a good way to stimulate research and get institutions and scientists and investigators interested in a disease is to provide some seed money for projects that focus on that disease. And in the world of science, that's often referred to as pilot projects. And so if organizations can raise funds and make them available as pilot projects, that will catch the attention of investigators who would like to have some resources and funds available to either start a brand new project, go into a new field, or to further a finding or an insight that they have gained recently in their research that they think might be applicable to a disease like FSH.
Yes, I think the most important issue in FSHD research right now is really what is the molecular events that cause this disease to occur. FSHD has been a very confusing disease to try to understand from a scientific point of view. It's become clear what the genetic abnormality is in this disease, in that there's a deletion on the tip of chromosome 4 that puts into motion all of the events that lead to the muscle weakness in FSHD. Unfortunately, what is still not understood is how that chromosomal deletion directly affects the genes that are expressed in muscle, and what are the proteins that are not working correctly, and what really is the molecular sequence of events that go from a chromosomal abnormality to muscle weakness. And it's been a confusing scenario because with many of the other types of muscular dystrophy, when the genetic mutation was first identified, it became very quickly obvious why the muscle cells were not functioning normally. With FSHD, having the genetic mutation in hand has not led to any obvious theories on what's going wrong. There's a lot of good theories out there of what might be the problem, but there has not been any proof of that.
So the whole idea is to get movement going in the field of FSH research, and a good way to do that is with offering pilot project money. To do that appropriately, you need to have a group of knowledgeable scientists who can review the application for pilot projects, and so that's what we'll do here at the UW. We'll have a team of people who are knowledgeable in the area of muscle disease, screen the pilot project applications, and then choose one or more that are the best, award them the pilot projects, and hope that they will allow the investigators to, number one, get interested in FSH research, and number two, to leverage their initial findings into a bigger and better research program. But I think it's one of several ways to get the ball moving in the direction of FSH research.